Welcome. Hello, everyone. My name is Kate Fitzpatrick. I'm the Manager of Human Resources at BC's Office of the Human Rights Commissioner. I'm very pleased to be with you today, and thank you for taking time to be with us. First, I'd like to begin with a territorial acknowledgement, recognizing that we may be joining from different places around our beautiful province, and perhaps some of you from beyond BC. I invite you to take a moment and reflect with gratitude and respect for the lands on which you're joining from today. Today, I'm personally calling with gratitude from the traditional and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, which is now referred to as East Vancouver. It is my absolute privilege to live, work, and raise my family on this territory. I would also like to recognize the ancestral and continuing connection to these lands of the Métis people. We have a wonderful panel here today. It is an honor to introduce you to and to be here with our Deputy Commissioner of BC OHRC, Bernard Achampong, with Legal Counsel, Sarah Khan, and our staff lawyer, Gudnaya Labukan. So I'll give you a little overview of what we're going to cover today before I hand it over to Bernard. Bernard's going to provide information about our office, including an overview of BCOHRC as an organization, a little bit about our history, who we are, our priorities, and what we're working on. And Gudnaya and Sarah are going to speak to this temporary staff lawyer position and give you a sense of the legal department's work and the team. And I'll speak to the hiring process and give you some high-level related HR items. We will welcome questions at the end, so please do stick around and use the Q&A chat function. And if we don't have time to cover all of the questions in full, we will capture them and we'll post a Q&A document on our careers webpage to address your questions in full. So before I hand it over to Bernard, I'll just cover a few housekeeping items just for you to note. We are recording this session. As I mentioned, we will post the recording for anyone who couldn't attend it. So if you're watching after today, a warm welcome to you as well. Audio and chat functions are turned off, so we ask that you please submit your questions through the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to those at the end. Confidentiality is important to us, so there's an option for you to submit questions anonymously using that Q&A function as an anonymous attendee, so please do feel free to use that. We will not be reading anyone's names out loud with a question, and we will be very happy to answer what questions we can in real time. Closed captioning has also been enabled for the webinar, so you can select Show Subtitle. If you're having any technical difficulties, just send us a note in the chat. With that, thank you, Abby, for organizing us, and I'll hand it over to Bernard.
Thank you, Kate. I always appreciate these webinars. I actually really enjoy them. And I was just reflecting back about almost a year ago. I was on the other side. I was on your side, trying to learn about the office. And I found that that was one of the most, for me, most engaging and informative reasons why I actually proceeded with my application at that point. So I currently serve as a deputy commissioner. And as I reflect on the why in your spot about a year ago, what really resonated with me was the opportunity to really apply my skill set to meaningful work. It was meaningful work that really appealed to me and appeals to me, really serving the province to address inequality or injustice and discrimination. I kept thinking, I remember being in your place, thinking, what an opportunity it would be to help shape a just society, a healthy communities and individuals. That, for me, folks, was the reason why I'm in my role today. I think, as Sarah Khan will talk about later, this role is such an opportunity to really reflect and contribute your skill set into the strategic direction of where we're going as an office. I always talk about the legal team being the core, or what I call the must have of our organization. There'll be a lot of work around reports and recommendations. There's inquiries and interventions. There's legal advice, and there's your part in playing in engaged workforce. So those are some of my reflection points. What it and that's what really drew me to this opportunity as the serving as the deputy commissioner. Next slide, please. So what makes us unique? BC's Office of the Human Rights Commissioner. We are one of the 9 independent offices of the legislature. And what makes it unique really starts from the fact that at the end of the day, we are independent. We are independent as an office with a specific focus mandate of addressing inequality, discrimination, and injustice. Uh, by that, I mean, systemically, we have this mandate of really tackling issues at the province level, at the system level, at the community level, and less so at an individual level when we counsel addressing inequality, discrimination, and injustice. A lot of our priorities are shaped around that. We'll talk more about those on our website. Really dig into some of that, and you may have already taken a read of those. The other aspect that makes us unique is that we promote compliance with international human rights obligations, so the various numerous conventions that is within the scope of the office as we work through the journey of addressing inequality, injustice, and discrimination in British Columbia. To do that, we have tools. We have a lot of tools in doing our work. One is a really critical aspect of it is education and actually an engagement of community, of public, of duty bearers, of core government, of our partners. It's about really providing that awareness, the education piece. We also, to inform that, we are big on evidence-based research. We look to really be informed in the work that we do. We also look to inform governments and on policy reform. That is critical, and working with the various community partners in making sure that we put forward evidence-based policy for consideration. We also work on inquiry and intervention, and Sarah and Good and I will dig more into that. And at the end of the day, it's creating that awareness for each community, each individual, and each of our partners on how we can work together to address human rights and left human rights in the province. Next slide, please. Now the question becomes, who are these small and mighty team of BC Human Rights, BC Office of the Human Rights Commissioner? Well, we have a small and mighty team of about 44, and it is headed by Kasari Govinder, who is the commissioner. Now, Kasari was first appointed in 2019. The office was set up under the code in 2018. Kasari was appointed in 2019 and reappointed this year for another 5 years. She is the head of the organization, and she is the organization as outlined in the code. I serve as the deputy commissioner, and I support Kasari by helping run the organization as it is. We have 5 teams. We have the legal team, the small and mighty and very key team of the legal team, which you are applying. If you are here today listening to this session, this is the team that you are actually looking at being part of. There's a research and policy team. There's a corporate services team, which is relatively new but provides operational support in HR, finance, and IMIT. And we also have an education and engagement team that speaking about the awareness and education piece are critical there. And we have a communications, our reputation keepers, as well as general operations within the organization. Again, and these teams are about eight individuals. The legal team is just slightly smaller but mighty that make up the office. The other piece to think about too is over the last 5 years, we are now doing some work to reflect back on evaluating on our impacts and where we've been in the journey that we've been through. And this evaluation is going to feed into a strategic direction, which we are planning on publishing in the early summer next year. And so again, thank you for your interest, and I'll pass it on to Sarah.
Thank you, Bernard. And so glad to all of you who've joined us today. So I'm my name is Sarah Khan. I'm General Counsel with the office, and I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of how the legal team is set up and highlight some of the key experience that we're looking for the person that we hire into this position. So we currently have in our legal team, we have 4 lawyers. One of us is part-time. That's and then we also have 3 full-time lawyers. We have paralegal services available to us, and periodically we also hire a law student to assist us with our work, which is actually really nice to have the injection of the, having fresh energy coming into our team. Usually 1 to 2 times a year, we'll have a student for a term. I won't go over the whole job description. You already have that in front of you, but I will say that I'd like to highlight some of the things that we're really looking for. So within our team, we focus primarily on interventions before courts and tribunals, making arguments around systemic discrimination on behalf of the commissioner. And we've participated, I think we're onto our 8th right now, 8th intervention in a case. Many of our cases have been or our interventions have been before the BC Supreme Court and the BC Court of Appeal, and we're currently involved in one before the Human Rights Tribunal. So there's that part of the work, and then we also have the inquiries and investigations part of our work. We have inquiries going on, 3 inquiries going on right now. One is about detentions under the Adult Guardianship Act. Another one is about police use of force, and the third one that we have going on is about media exclusion zones. So with that work, our lawyers, generally speaking, work in both inquiries and interventions, although with the exception of our senior staff lawyer, inquiries and investigations, whose work primarily focuses on inquiries and investigations. So the other types of things that we do are conducting legal reviews of work that's produced by other departments in our office. So usually prepared by non-lawyers and who work in our office. We work across multidisciplinary teams. And so we are looking for folks who can also do that kind of work. So I would say then that the main skills that we're looking for here are for this position are civil litigation experience. So the ability to draft arguments and present oral arguments in court before courts and tribunals. We're looking for someone with strong research, writing, and presentation skills. Research and writing is a huge part of what we do, both on the inquiries and interventions side of things. We also are looking for someone who has a strong knowledge of case law under BC's Human Rights Code. And then someone who has legal knowledge sufficient to conduct legal reviews of documents prepared by other teams at the office. We also provide, so it's not just, sometimes it's not just legal reviews like reviewing written materials. We often give legal advice to the commissioner, to the deputy, and to staff across the organization, just on an as needed basis. So those are, I hope that's helpful in just highlighting some of the key things that we're looking for. And I'll pass it back over to, I think it's back to Kate.
Great, thank you. What an exciting role and opportunity. Thank you, Bernard and Sarah, for that helpful overview. As promised, I would love to just speak to some HR items if that's helpful, a little bit about our hiring process, what we offer. So just to start, this position is excluded from the union. So if there's any questions around, is this a government position? Is it a union position? Because we are an independent office of the Legislative Assembly, all of our positions are excluded, including this one. This is a temporary 1-year full-time position. Because it's temporary, it is not eligible for our regular package of employment benefits, which would ordinarily include paid vacation, extended health and dental, and pension. However, in lieu of these benefits, the employee who's in this role will receive a vacation pay stipend of 6% of their regular pay. And you can choose to take up to 15 days off without pay, knowing that you get this vacation stipend after you've worked for 6 months. The successful candidate would also receive a health pay stipend. This is up to a maximum of just under $64 biweekly. And again, that is in lieu of not having sick kind of health and dental benefits. Employees are eligible for full benefits after they've worked with us for about 1 year of full time. Accessing sick leave is an entitlement. It's paid at 60%. Those are just some of the details around what this offers. I would really like to emphasize that there are other offerings that are valuable that this candidate would have access to, including professional development. We do offer our temporary and permanent employees with professional development funding in support to pursue individual career goals after 6 months of work. The successful candidate would have 24/7 access to employee and family assistance services, and those include counseling, family support, career support, financial and legal services, as well as healthy living services. Our organization also offers all of its employees, including temporary employees, specialized counseling services, just in recognition that the nature of our work can be challenging sometimes, and sometimes our staff needs someone to reach out to in a specialized capacity. Among many other awesome applied internal learning and development opportunities, there's so much good work happening on the legal team as well as in the organization. And as Bernard mentioned, it's a really exciting time to join as we start in our planning for our next 5 years ahead. I'd also say meaningful work, the opportunity to work with an independent office and contribute to systemic change in our province. I personally find this to be extremely rewarding. You'd have the opportunity to collaborate with a dedicated and talented group of people. It's fun. You'll hear laughter in the office despite the nature of our work. We are constantly learning from one another and growing our knowledge and skills. And so while we're not the startup that we were 5 years ago, we're still a fairly new and a small organization. And I would say this is an opportunity for you to help shape the development of our next 5-year strategic plan and to help create positive change in BC. So a little bit on the hiring process. As you know, the job was posted for this role. The job profile itself is a really valuable resource for you to reference throughout our hiring process. It gives a really good overview of the position, the purpose of the role. It'll expand on what Sarah's indicated as, the key skills that they're looking for, the qualifications and the requirements and the type of work. Following the job posting closing, which is on October 24th at 9 a.m., we're going to move quickly into evaluating applications. We refer to that as screening. This stage will be where we look closely at applications against the qualifications that are included in the posting. So please do pay careful attention and clearly share how and where you meet the qualifications, and give us enough information so that we know that you've gained the experience that we're looking for. We're really relying on you to tell us how much you meet each requirement. Candidates who meet all education and experience qualifications will be considered into the next stage. If you meet preference statements, please be sure to reference, and I'll talk more about preference statements in a moment. We've been asked in the past, is there a page limit for my application? Technically, no. That said, we do get a lot of applications and we don't have an automated system to help us with this. So please be direct in your communication and concise. There's a human being reviewing all of them. So just be clear, please. The interview will be that opportunity that really allows us and you a chance to get to know more about each other. This is the stage of our process where we'll address the knowledge, skills, and abilities and competencies that are outlined in the job profile. So again, hold on to that profile. It's an important resource to use in our hiring process. Depending on where we're at, how many applicants we get, there may be other assessments. There could be a writing assignment. We will be sure to let you know what each stage of our hiring process will include along the way. You'll be hearing a lot from us, so just check your email and make sure to tell us if your contact information has changed or if you plan on being away. You'll notice in our communications that we will ask you to reach out if you are facing any barriers or if you have any difficulties or considerations that might prevent you from completing an assignment or participating fully in any stage of our hiring process. We are committed to inclusive and equitable hiring. If you require an accommodation, I please do welcome you to let us know. We would be very happy to support you. Any questions around accommodations or requests will not negatively impact your application. And we'll respond with as much flexibility as we can. We're trying to build as much time into the process while respecting that we really do want to get this position filled, I would say shortly. So to complement the diversity of our existing team, we may give preference to applicants who are Indigenous, Black, racialized, people with diverse gender identities or expressions, and or people with disabilities. You will see that in the posting. We're being very intentional about our hiring and building and maintaining a diverse team with lived experience with human rights. We recognize that for us as an organization to be successful, our staff should reflect the diverse communities that we serve in BC. A fundamental operating principle and value for us is nothing about us without us. Those who have lived experience with human rights and perspectives are needed in our organization to help inform the commissioner's work. We're very aware that it may not feel like a safe thing to disclose in a hiring process, and we want to communicate that we welcome you to do so. One of our guiding principles is to operate in a trauma-informed manner, and thus it's your choice whether you would like to volunteer any information or how much. For the purpose of your application, you may want to provide a brief statement to the degree you feel comfortable sharing. Many applicants will choose to share their lived experience or how they meet preferential criteria statements in their cover letter. These applications are kept confidential and they are not shared beyond the hiring panel for each competition. So with that, I'll hand it over to each of you and to Abby to ask your questions. And panel members, if there's anything I've missed that you would like to jump in on, please do.
Thanks, Kate.
Thank you very much, Kate. Sarah, would you like to add anything to what Kate has said?
Actually, yeah, something just came up that I thought I should just emphasize, that we are looking for people who are lawyers, who are eligible to be a practicing member of or are eligible to be quickly a practicing member of the Law Society of BC. So I just wanted to emphasize that.
Thank you very much, Sarah. We do have one question, and I encourage everyone who has a question to please use the Q&A function in the webinar, and we will read your questions without mentioning your names. So this person asked, if I'm already a public service employee, do you know if this position could serve as a temporary assignment? Kate, that question will be for you.
My understanding is that yes, you would be able to transition over in the capacity of a temporary assignment. So yeah, great question. We are a part of even though we are an independent office of the Legislative Assembly, we do our positions, our classification, our compensation, our policies, our hiring, they're kind of rooted in the footprint of the greater BC Public Service. So if you're with the provincial government, then yes, you could transition over.
Thank you, Kate. And a follow-up question to Sarah would be, will the organization cover our Law Society fees?
Yes. We do pay for Law Society fees. I just would note, though, that because our client is the commissioner and because we're part of the public service, we don't actually get the insurance portion generally. But you would have the membership fees paid for, but we're not required to have the insurance.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And the next question would be, is there a possibility that this position might be extended beyond 1 year? Question still for you, Sarah.
Yeah, I'll probably take that.
Okay.
I know Sarah is going to say yes. In all seriousness, we are really looking at the capacity of the team, and that will inform part of where we go with it. In a lot of ways, it's a big possibility, but we are wanting to understand the capacity of the team and how everything, and also informed by the strategic plan that we talked about earlier.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Next question, is there a minimum year of call or a preferred year of call?
Well, I would say, I think we put in the posting 3 to 5 years. However, we're not restricting this posting to any year of call. So we're really looking for folks who have the experience to do the job. That's our primary criteria, as opposed to years of call.
Thank you for clarifying that, Sarah. I think we have more questions coming in. So this person asked, on the post, it states that there's a salary range starting at 105,900, but underneath it states a starting salary being 126,840. Can you clarify? Kate, I'll hand that over to you.
Thank you. Yes, good question. So every position has its own pay band. As I mentioned earlier, the pay bands are established by the BC Public Service Agency. We use the same pay bands. In terms of the starting salary, so at BCOHRC, in our commitment for internal pay equity, we do start our staff lawyers at the 60th percentile of the established pay band. We start all of our other positions at the 40th percentile, so that's just some context information. That's where we start, and it leaves some room to grow.
Thank you, Kate. I didn't see any more questions, but okay, one just came in. Do your accommodations include ability to work remotely / from home?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have a very flexible work policy. I would say that is certainly something that you'd want to discuss with Sarah. But we do have remote work options. We have a distributed workforce across the province. And we do give our employees the flexibility to work from home. I would say the caveat is, to be in the office on an as needed basis. I would imagine that this position would be at times required in person for certain meetings. So that's just something I want to put out there, that yes, while you can work from home, there's also an expectation that in-person attendance will be required on an as needed basis. Did I get that right, Sarah?
You did. Thanks, Kate. So this is a remote position if you'd like it to be. We do have meetings and court appearances sometimes, or inquiry and investigation interviews that require us to be in person, or sometimes we'll be having community roundtable sessions or other types of engagements that we do need to be in person for. And this position is for someone who's in the Vancouver or Victoria areas. And the reason for that is that we need somebody who can be there on quickly to attend, who doesn't have to go through a lot of travel to get to the meetings, which are primarily based in Vancouver.
All right, thank you for that additional context, Sarah. And next question is, why is this position excluded rather than eligible for PEA membership? Either Bernard or Kate can take this one.
Bernard, do you want to take a first kick at it?
I mean, I would say that we are an independent office of the legislature. A part of it is to, and we don't have unionized positions. We do have positions that are similar to unionized positions that are Schedule A. And we are excluded on most part, partly because of our sort of our role as an independent office.
Yeah, and also it is a band 4 position within the excluded management compensation framework. So just that also, in addition to what Bernard just indicated, while we don't have any unionized positions, it's also considered a leadership position level of role.
Thank you both. The next question will be also directed at Sarah, and it says, is it worth applying as a 5-year call if I have civil litigation experience, but no experience addressing human rights issue?
Gosh, well, I never want to tell people not to apply. So, because who knows, you might have some experience that once you start preparing your application, you might find that you do have some relevant experience. However, I would say that, we are specifically looking for folks with civil litigation experience, and also experience with working with human rights law. So I don't know how relevant your experience is to human rights. We take a fairly broad view of human rights law. A lot of our work, involves the Human Rights Code in BC, but it also involves other areas, other laws where we're trying to address systemic human rights issues that occur in relation to those laws. So it's, I never tell people not to apply unless they really clearly don't have the meet the basic requirements. However, I leave that decision to you. If you take a good look at the job description and profile and see if you think you meet the criteria, then by all means apply. We welcome your application.
Thank you, Sarah. And I think that's the last question. We'll give it a few more minutes just in case more people are typing questions out and they have something they'd like to get out there. And we have another question. And this person says, can you please explain the benefits and pension for the first 1 year again? I missed that part of the presentation. Thank you in advance.
Thank you. Yeah, so good question. So just at the very beginning, this is a temporary role, and because it is temporary, we don't offer our full suite of employment benefits. That said, there are some benefits that we can offer as part of the package, including stipends, pay stipends in terms of vacation pay, as well as some health benefits pay. So the pension one is a little bit more complicated. It's actually based on annual earnings. So while this position will not start with a pension plan, but as it continues to work at the salary level for this position, pension contributions would likely kick in before the end of the 1 year term. I would be very happy to talk in more detail once we get further down the path in this hiring process around all of these details around offerings.
Thank you very much, Kate. We do have a few more minutes to go, but no questions at the moment. I will give it a few more minutes. Maybe people who have questions to type in and they can get their questions out there.
Thanks, Abby. And I was wondering while Bernard, were you going to jump in with something?
No, I was just going to say that Sarah is a great boss. So.
Thank you. That's really sweet of you.
True.
Well, I'm very shy, but thank you. I try. Good night. I was just wondering if you would if there's anything that you think, that I might have missed talking about the position that you'd like to add to.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, I think also just in terms of your experience here, my own experience has been very rich. I find that, the legal team is really, really just really collegial. We're super, super, supportive of each other. And I find that, that actually spreads out into the entire office. It really is a wonderful place to work. I can't really recommend it high enough. It's the sort of place where, I think, I've worked in a few places, and I know that, oftentimes people say, oh, no, you speak your mind. And this is probably the only place where not only can you speak your mind, but they actually will listen. So I think that's a huge difference. And so, yeah, I really do look forward to getting people's resumes and looking at them and welcoming our next lawyer.
Thank you so much. We have another question, and this person is asking, how long is the training process and what level of mentorship can we expect?
That is an excellent question. I think we have, we have a pretty comprehensive onboarding process. So we have a lot of training with learning about what the other teams are working on, learning what we're working on, time to review the materials, and our office offers a lot of in-house training. And so I think that's part of the training aspect. You'll also be assigned with a buddy as you join the office so that you can have someone to ask questions to. As your supervisor, I'd be doing some pretty comprehensive onboarding with you so that you understand what you're going to be working on and the context. So that's training, onboarding, and mentoring. So of course, I will be there to be your sort of primary person as your supervisor, and then we have other folks in the legal team who you can go to with questions. We have an ongoing chat, for example, where we ask each other questions and air any issues that we're having so that we try to collaborate. We have team meetings with the legal team. There's also all staff meetings, and then you'll have access to, obviously to developing relationships across the organization with folks in all the other departments.
Thank you so much, Sarah. We have the opportunity to take one last question before we wrap up. And this attendee is asking, do we get to choose the work we do, or are we assigned specific projects?
That's a good question too. You do get some choice in the work that you do, for sure. We try to match the work with the interests of our lawyers. However, we just have a really steady stream of work coming in. So there's some choice, but I don't want to exaggerate that choice. For example, if we have an intervention hearing coming up and we need help, then the person would be helping with that particular case, or if there's legal reviews and sometimes, but what we do try to do is move things around a bit. So some people have interest more in some things than others, and so we do try to accommodate those interests, but I'm not going to inflate that too much. There is we do assign work. It's just the way of the office, or the way of the work of the legal team. We're a small department, and so we do need to distribute the work amongst our team members. But for sure, there's an opportunity to do some trading of work when something is really not outside of your area of interest or expertise.
Just also to add to that, I mean, there's a lot of different projects that go on within the office. So the lawyers also have involvement with those. Not that we lead them, but we're, oftentimes asked for, our opinion or advice. So, it can, if you have certain areas that you're also interested in, you may find some connections with some of the other departments.
And I'll just specify, I said that we have a team of lawyers. We have 4 lawyers currently, and one of us is part-time and the other 3 are full-time. That's our legal department. And occasionally we'll have a law student join us, and then we have contracted paralegal services.
All right, thank you so much. I will be sharing a link to the pension and compensation related information for those who are interested. Before this webinar ends, you can click on that link and read more about it on the PSA website. I don't know if anyone else has a few last words before we wrap up this session. We just have 1 minute to go, and I know there's a question about intersectionality between family law and the work that you do. all that we do at BCOHRC. I don't know if Sarah want to take a stab at it, but we do have less than a minute to go.
Sure, I'll do it in less than a minute. So there is some intersectionality, some overlap. So for example, we're involved in a case right now that involves child protection. And we've also participated in an intervention around family status discrimination under the Human Rights Code.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Great job. Yes, that's about it. I will hand it back now to, I think, Kate.
Yeah,
Bernard.
I'll
Bernard.
take it on. Thank you,
Thank you.
Abby, for organizing. Thank you, Kate, for being here. And Sarah and Goodina, awesome. Thank you. And more importantly, thank you all participants. Thanks for your interest and looking to see your applications. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day.